Welcome to episode 503 of the Red Dirt Agronomy podcast. I am Dave Deacon. We hope you are staying warm after this historic weather event across the southern Great Plains. If you did have to get out, we appreciate that you took us along as you're out checking cattle or just needing to get out of the house. This week, we're going back to an interview that we recorded at the Oklahoma Wheat Commission's booth during the 2026 KNID AgriFest in Enid, and we're checking in with an old friend of ours, Dr. Kent Martin, who recently joined the faculty at Northwestern Oklahoma State University in Alva. We'll talk with Kent about farming in Northwestern Oklahoma and his transition from a crop consultant to the college classroom. You know this will be a great conversation. Just a reminder, you will be able to find all of the information about this episode and past episodes on our website, reddirtagronomy.com. Also, we have a special offer for you, the Red Dirt Agronomy listener. We're taking the show on the road a couple of times over the next few months, so we want you to come by and see us at the Central Oklahoma Cattle Conference at the Payne County Expo Center in Stillwater on February 13th. Of course, we'll be recording a few episodes at the Central Oklahoma Cattle Conference, and we have a special gift for the first 5 people who come up and say hi and show us that you're actually subscribed to the podcast. We'll have a link to the registration for the Central Oklahoma Cattle Conference in Stillwater on the 13th on our website, reddirtagronomy.com. We hope to see you there. As always, we start with a quick trip around the table for an introduction to the dream team of dirt and everything that grows from it. Let's start with Oklahoma State University Extension Precision Nutrient Management Specialist.
You just become more comfortable with the foot in your mouth and understand how to negotiate the post.
Dr. Brian Arnell. And next to him is Oklahoma State University Extension Cropping System Specialist.
Oh, I mean, I always put my foot in my mouth, so I'm not a leader by any stretch of the imagination.
Dr. Josh Lofton. Let's kick off our conversation that we recorded on January 9th, 2026 at the Oklahoma Wheat Commission's booth during the 2026 AgriFest in Enid with Dr. Kent Martin. You are listening to the Red Dirt Agronomy Podcast. Once again, here at the KNID AgriFest, the Oklahoma Wheat Commission was so kind to provide a booth for us here, and it's been a lot of fun. We've met a lot of great people, and we've had some great conversations too. And
they're serving
even recorded
bread now.
a few
They
of
now
them.
have bread. So
yeah,
they now have bread,
which is great because
it's great for me.
Yeah. It's a little later in the day. Josh has been waiting for that bread. I wouldn't say patiently, but you've been waiting.
It's
for
really
it.
been Betty White.
Get the guy a Snickers bar. But you know,
I can't have a Snickers bar,
which makes it even better. But they did switch to bread now, so Josh has been enjoying some of that.
I had one piece of bread. That's it.
Well, you're easing into it.
There it is.
There you go. But we have Dr. Kent Martin here with us, and I guess, Brian, do you want to take the lead on this?
There's
what do you say about Kent Martin?
What do I say?
Yeah, that's why I was going to let you do it.
I do know some of the things you say when you think I'm not listening to your podcast. So
good point.
Yeah,
good point.
That's not wrong.
Dave and I have talked about this. So
yes, we have.
we have to make sure that I get my time to
You've got your
defend
time
myself.
Equal time.
Yeah.
Okay, this will be a long podcast.
So we got Dr. Kent Martin, who's switched as of basically last June or July into new roles. He's now educating the youth of America.
Of Northwest Oklahoma. Yeah.
You've got some from
part of
outside the
America.
county. I know you guys got.
We have some from South America.
Yep.
We go across the U.S.
Yep.
Yeah, but
That's cool.
See, that's what
mostly
he said.
Northwest Oklahoma.
So
yeah.
talk about the new gig.
So I'm teaching agriculture classes at Northwestern Oklahoma State. Started in August, and so I will start on Monday with my new spring semester.
Wow.
So everything agronomy. So all crops, all soils classes. Really,
And all lectures are completed.
all
They will be by the time of delivery.
Will be by delivery.
I have had some senior people tell me you need to stay about one day ahead. So I'm doing my best. Sometimes it's an hour ahead, but no, I don't have my presentations
That's all
complete.
right.
Yeah.
Do you have Monday complete? Oh no, because you didn't
it's not
print out
Sunday
your
yet.
syllabus.
It's not Sunday yet.
I'll have my syllabi printed out by 9 o'clock Monday morning, which is when my first class starts.
But that's my kind of people right here.
But the most important thing is it will be by the time this airs.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of hoping that administration doesn't listen to this. Maybe they'll appreciate it.
Oh, yeah.
We can
Oh,
censor
yeah.
it.
No, we won't.
No. So what classes? How many classes? And you said everything agronomy. So
Yeah, so 4 classes each semester, rotating every year. So, things like soil fertility, crop production, ag chemicals and management, your standard kind of course lineup. Probably the most exciting one is a crop consulting class this semester. And, as these guys know, I'm not very smart. I don't know. Dave, you don't know that to the level these guys know, but so things are kept really real.
Yeah.
Spend a lot of time out in the field, hands-on. I've been a farmer for 15 years, still am, so
Right.
I have to keep it pretty simple. And so seems like students really appreciate that.
Yeah.
More of – so – what I say is I see what we do in agronomy as the intermediary of the theory and the application. So we got to bridge that gap, and I'm doing my best to bridge that gap.
Well, and that's a good point because you have the real life experience. Many of the folks who teach they went directly from getting that PhD to the classroom. You were out there, boots in the field, on the ground, putting it into work or putting it into action. So
it is handy. The half section I live on that I farm is right down the road from the university farm, and so we will be out there digging holes, counting plants, looking at diseases and insects, and it'll be interesting to just kind of get them out in the middle of it and really see and feel agronomy, which is kind of how I learn. And I've found that more and more people learn that way, to see it, feel it, experience it. We would say taste it, but I think when Brian and I were in some soils classes, we might have licked some rocks to see if they tasted like salt, but
yes,
I try not to do that anymore, but
it's frowned upon.
Yeah.
You get too many PFAs.
Yeah, you get those forever chemicals. You can't do that. Well, so myself, before I kind of got back into this role here, working with folks out west, I mean, growing up in the east side, I had no idea that Northwestern Oklahoma was even a thing. Mm-hmm. So, how many in because you are basically a one-man show in kind of that applied agronomy area. So, about how many students are you guys working with up there? And
so, since you say you don't recognize Northwestern is one of the older colleges.
I didn't know about it. I didn't recognize
it.
You can't not recognize something you don't know.
It's interesting. I have a picture on my wall of my great-grandmother in the 19-teens, a picture of her class of the Castle on the Hill that they called it at the time. So it's a big teaching college and a big nursing college. Agriculture, so our department is the agriculture department, so animal science, ag ed, and agronomy. We have a lot of classes that'll have, 20, 25 students-ish. We'll have some specialized classes that are around 10. Agriculture as a department is one of the larger departments, outside of just the general ed kind of things that everyone has to do. So as a major department, we are one of the larger ones. Funnel a lot of rodeo kids through. Yeah. So a lot of people across the nation recognize the rodeo program, do really, really well, have good students competing nationally every year. And so we have a big presence in animal science, who take a lot of agronomy classes that kind of focus that back into the animal applications. So relatively few actually agronomy majors, but the ones that we do have are really, really good, top-notch students.
So, but and I guess we'll kind of I like to jump around a little bit, but this is not your first time in academia. I mean, for folks that don't know you, you were with Kansas State before you came back and came back to the farm. So
yeah, so I was with K-State in an extension role. I was 70% extension, 30% research back in 2009, getting up into the 2012 era. My dad passed away 2011. I moved back to the farm. Kind of stayed on for a little while there, but yeah, so I had a little bit of experience with K-State in my background.
So how, being K-State, but you were not on campus, you were out in a region. So what's kind of the difference between a Northwest Oklahoma and a Kansas State? I know there's been a couple of years in between.
Yeah, a couple, like 14.
I wasn't going to say a number, but
not that we would expect anything to change in 14 years. But Brian, has it happened since you started?
Yeah,
so all is the same.
All the same.
The nice thing I liked about K-State, and I was off campus. I was at Garden City. I was on a research station. I covered a quarter of the state. I did a lot of driving, a lot of travel. I loved the idea that I didn't have to be on campus. If I wanted to be on campus, I could be on campus. If I didn't want to be on campus, I didn't have to be on campus. And I loved that because I had total freedom. What they told me early on was, if you can fund your program, you can do whatever you want to do. Just keep it relevant to the farmers. And it didn't take long. And, I was self-funded. I was good to go and did what I wanted to do. And what I see now is this teaching gig is going back to the extension deal and saying, okay, let's treat these students like they're little future farmers.
Yeah.
They're not all so little.
Right,
Some of them
right.
bigger than me. But they're all future farmers, and we're doing hands-on work that is kind of mimicking what the farmers would do. And so it might be my background in extension that makes me teach like extension. And I think they like that, for the most part, because, I have a hard time staying in the building because I've spent too many hours outside. I just need to go get outside and do some things. So it is a lot different. My department, the agriculture department at Northwestern, is so flexible. And to the point that, Brian and I want to do stuff together, Josh and I want to do stuff together. They're like, sure, it doesn't matter. We don't segregate, say, OSU versus Northwestern.
Right.
We're all about working together and doing what we need to do to get the job done. And I really like that. And not all departments are like that,
So how do you feel the difference between extension and teaching is? Do you think that they're, you prepping a lecture or you're prepping a presentation that's going to be extension versus one that's teaching? Is it the same, or is there some nuances to it?
That's a good question. I think we have to go back more to the fundamentals with the students. Now, I say with every teaching presentation, I look at the students and I can point out students that will leave that classroom that day and potentially use what we talked about that afternoon.
Yeah.
And so for them, because we have a lot of students who are locally on farms, I want an element of it to be applied extension every day. But I see them as multiple classes building upon one another where they've got to have some of that theory. So I think it goes back to more of the fundamentals, but I think that a lot of that is keeping it extremely, extremely relevant to what they do every day.
Yeah, I've talked back and forth to our teaching deans on I am a big proponent that all extension people should be teachers because, one, it's just a tremendous wealth of knowledge that our students need to have access to. But two, it is pretty similar. I'm with you. Is always I give the same lecture. I spur off on a grower's or a student needs to know what's going on and why. So like you were saying, the fundamentals, what are the basic principles of physiology, of biology, of agriculture that are driving this? The growers more need to know on, okay, it's applied. How do I implement it now on my farm? And
The
what are the
decision tree.
repercussions? Yeah, what's that decision tree? And while the students would value to hear some of that, you have to teach them to where if they got given the same situation but slightly different, they still can work it out for themselves of what's going on.
And that's why I like to hear them say, "Oh, so that's why this works the way it does."
Yeah.
And then the next thing that's really rewarding is to hear them say, "So if that works like that, then," and it's the whatever follows the then, that they're actually expanding their knowledge on their own, and you go, okay, now this student is starting to get it. They start to see the why and why we're studying what we're doing and how to use that in the future. So really, I think in the end, it's us trying to teach them to think, which is a hard job to do. Sometimes you just want them to show up, and then you're asking a lot when you say, "I want you to think." So,
well, and you talk about pedagogy, and everybody learns slightly different, and you never know what that one seed you're going to plant, where it's going to blossom into something else. It might be 2 classes now, for you it's nice because it might be 2 classes and you're still the one teaching them. For us, maybe somebody teaches it and it's another faculty that finally gets to see that aha moment, and those are so fun with students when they. And some students do it in the same semester, and some of them it takes 2 or 3, added things to compact on that, that seed doesn't grow. It's kind of like putting seed in the ground. It doesn't grow until we water it and we fertilize it. So it's the same concept, and that knowledge is the same.
It's been fun, really, because I've been teaching since 9 as faculty, but I was teaching the lab as soon as Gordon left in 6 or 7. But having Josh go from, so Lofton has been an extension research appointment, started picking up after his first promotion, started picking up some teaching, is now really leveraged teaching, has done that. And getting him into the system and teaching has kind of really reinvigorated my interest in teaching because I got stuck in some ruts, and him bringing back the extension because I was the only extension specialist teaching. I've talked to a lot of universities saying, we've got more and more 3-way faculty, or we have more and more extension teaching faculty, because for a long time I was the only one.
Yeah.
And I have heard from at least 6 different universities, well, that is a horrible idea. It should never happen.
And this is why, and both of these guys can tell you that I do this. I call up one of them and say...
When he calls, we're like... Shh.
And I've
I don't have anything for the next hour. No, I'm good.
Hey,
Have to answer because he will call back.
I do know your numbers. I'll keep calling. But I know I've asked Brian several times, I need some help thinking. I don't really, it's not really I'm looking for an answer, but I need someone to test this thought process and to throw some questions in. And and that's where being at a smaller university, not having, multiple people to bounce those ideas off and those kind of things and to ask those questions to, that's why I see the other people that I work with and people in my past to be that network. I do that with K-State and do that with OSU and some with Texas Tech and different commodity organizations. And I think that's what makes us better to keep us from being stuck in a rut, because both of these guys will tell you, I definitely don't know everything. There's
But
you don't.
We
have
all know
time.
the same thing, so that's a problem.
The interesting thing is, so our students, if you've never seen our new building, most of our plant and soil science graduate students are now in the same office areas as myself and Brian. And that has not been that way. And there is many times I run into Brian's office and I'm saying, tell me if I'm dumb for thinking this. And I go through a process, and you don't know how many of them are like, you guys are still bouncing ideas and learning yourself. And I'm like, it's the whole process of like, it always clicks. And sometimes it takes 20 years for it to click, but sometimes it's just there. And I think that's helped them a lot. Again, always having good back and forth with Brian, but them seeing that, like, it still takes some interaction with fellow individuals that think like you to form those thoughts and those processes and everything, and it's very valuable.
And seeing sometimes those simple questions, and we've seen this a lot of times in meetings that Brian and I have gone to. It's a simple question that it's like, well, that's a little harder than you really think it is, and then to see students go, oh, so I'm not dumb for asking this simple question,
right?
So that's only part of kind of what you do.
Yeah, I was like, this is a good kind of a transition point.
It's kind of what part of what you do. I mean, historically, you've done a lot on environmental consulting, and you have kind of served Oklahoma on our national only sorghum growers association. Have you just been on the sorghum group?
I've been on the Sorghum Commission and the association, and I did some U.S. Grains Council work.
U.S. Grains, that's right.
So you've worked extensively as a servant. Now you're getting to see the other side of service in Oklahoma. But I guess can you detail like some of the things that you've done as far as working for the national organizations, whether it be the grains or the sorghum organization that you've done?
Yeah. So I got involved at the state level early on. The state level led to a leadership opportunity. That led into a board appointment. So, it all just kind of started out as simply saying yes, and then that led into just really learning and understanding what commodity organizations were all about and the importance of them and what they do for the growers. And I know it's interesting because in those roles, we've all been integrated multiple ways. So funding projects you guys do, and you guys having input on things that are valuable to us as commodity organizations. So, and that being around the boardroom and strategizing and seeing how you funnel dollars into research and education and development of commodities, as well as doing the same thing with U.S. Grains Council, but more on an international focus. So taking that commodity interest and trying to extend that worldwide. Of course, a lot of travel and a lot of meetings and interactions as a part of that. But then leading into the chairman of the commission, which was a big eye-opening opportunity to see what it really took to lead an organization at the national level. So yeah, it's been interesting to do that and all the things involved. I mean, I don't think you can ever really capture everything that happens just by talking about it. You kind of need to live it, and definitely leadership is not for everyone, but I think it's one of those that if you are a leader and you know that you're a natural born leader, being involved with a commodity, any commodity, is a great thing to do because we don't have enough leaders in the world today, and we definitely need more people involved.
I don't know when it's going to air, but we had Jeff Hickman on. So I like, you said something that I think I'd like to flesh out a little bit more. When you know you're a leader, we know a lot of folks who are leaders that don't know they're leaders.
Right.
How do you foster that, or how do you help somebody, even if they know they're a leader, say, how do you help develop them that this is the right time to lead in the farm, right? Because that's it's never the right time. How do you sort out when is the right time?
Well, you could probably testify that early on in graduate school, I wouldn't have said I was a leader. But maybe other people would have said I was. And I think for the really good natural leaders, especially people in agriculture who are naturally humble, they probably don't see their leadership qualities until other people do. And it was our mentor that really helped initially to recognize that in me, and I think in you, and develop that in us. And so I think a lot of times it is when you start to notice that you're the person who people ask to be a leader, to be a part of organizations, to take charge, or if you're the person who's sitting there, and different people on boards that I'm involved with would tell you, I don't like to sit around and wait for people to make motions. I'll just make the motions because we've got to keep things moving and keep going. And if you're that person who says, I've got to step out in front because no one else is doing it. And if you feel that urge to do that, I think that's how you tell you're a natural leader. But I don't think that everyone should just step out where they don't belong without some training. Mm-hmm. So when I started at the national level, I told them, you will see me sit at the sidelines for a year, because all of us have seen people put their foot in their mouth in meetings where they shouldn't be. And if you observe and you learn and you figure out what your role should be, and then you step in and take off, I think that's the wisest and most effective way to do it. Josh is looking at me like,
oh, I mean, I always put my foot in my mouth, so I'm not a leader by any stretch of the imagination.
You just become more comfortable with the foot in your mouth and understand how to negotiate the post.
I know how to talk with that thing in there. It's all right.
The rest of us are wondering.
B will say she agrees.
We're just wondering if we ever take our foot out.
Yeah,
right. I know I don't, so that's okay.
You've kind of answered that, but your experience on these national leadership boards and situations like that, how have you been able to translate that into what you see in the students that you work with on a daily basis?
It's a really good question, because with all of them that I've worked with, having a leadership program has been it's been so important that even in years where we were stressed financially, that's one program we never wanted to get rid of. And when you start to see this group of people come in, you start to notice their behavior and notice how they react to situations, and which of those hang around, which of those you put on committees and on boards, and who end up, sitting next to you in the boardroom. And then you see these students come in, and you just start to notice as they walk in the behavior. Yeah. And you can tell. And it's funny because the other professors that teach other classes will say the same thing. Well, this student, they are a leader. They are an aggressive person who will not just sit to the sidelines. And so that's confirmed by everyone else noticing the same thing.
That's true.
So, and I think it just takes time to notice it. But, you just start people watching. Yeah. And you can see the leaders once you watch that process.
That's a fun thing. And a lot of the others, I always had comments about from the researchers at OSU is like, how do you get grad students? Are you advertising? Like, I don't advertise. And I find them just because I teach. So I've got the juniors, I've got the seniors. I see them, and I recruit a little bit, but I don't have to. Now, Josh, you've been put in you've always been fairly active with the students because of B, Dr. Haggard. But do you see that being even different now that you're much more active in the teaching role, that you have a better handle on who's coming into the system?
Oh, yeah. And there's a difference in seeing them outside of class and inside of class. And sometimes you got to see both sides of that coin to see if they're going to be a good student or not. And, maybe, how far they can go in leadership. So, I think seeing them under that situation and kind of like what we talked about earlier is that how good are they at processing this information? It's fine that you can remember what I say, but can you interpret what I say and bring it around? And that kind of really helps.
Now, this is probably where I have to pause and say, let's go back a year and a couple months ago when you had Raiden Sherry on the podcast. This is where I get to defend myself.
Yes. We're still getting comments about that.
Yeah.
When you're telling the story about Raiden starting your program, and I remember that day that Raiden had worked for me on the farm for quite a while, and he was, believe it or not, there was a point in Raiden's life where he was shy.
Really?
Oh, yes.
Wow.
And it might be because when I first hired him on the farm, the guy he worked with never really gave him a chance to talk. This guy was just nonstop. He was just going.
I was about to say.
We won't talk about the nicknames that we gave him. But anyway, Raiden came very, very shyly to me one day, and he says, I think I need to go to OSU to finish my school. And I'm probably going to need a job when I go there. And so I called Brian. And you know what Brian's response to me was? If he can put up with you, I'll hire him on the spot.
It's the truth. But I mean, it's in all fairness, it's a compliment because I know what you expect from the people that work for you.
Yeah.
You're not hard on them, but you do have high standards, and you're not going to put up with. You wouldn't have put up with somebody for 2 or 3 years, however long Radon was with you, if he didn't have a strong work ethic, if he didn't have good ethics, period. And then I know, you can be somewhat detail-oriented at times, and that's good training.
A little.
OCD, is that what you're saying? I like how you turned that around to a positive. When Radon came to me and said that, and this is something that I've told a lot of students who, first day of class, I ask them, what do you want to do? And what do you want to learn in this class that's going to help you what you do? I had a professor do that at K-State, and I really liked how he approached that class, and so I've been doing that. And I told Radon, you should be too good for me to be able to pay you for what I want you to do. I expect and want you to move on because you have better things in your future.
Yeah.
And definitely he has.
Yeah.
He's taken that much further than I ever expected.
Absolutely.
And he was still shy when he was at OSU.
Yeah.
It does not take long for him to uncap that shyness, though.
Yeah.
Well, he definitely has a special place in my wife's heart.
Yes.
We spent a lot of time together, and he's very good. He's a good example to use as someone who you can see those qualities in, and it needed developed, and couldn't be more happy with where he's at today.
Well, the funny thing about Radon for grad school was that, he was an ag-econ major.
Yeah.
He worked for me as an hourly. He is okay. He had some people over him that were kind of a pain, but, I wouldn't say that.
No.
I know, right? but as an hourly, there wasn't he wasn't just absolutely stand out. He worked hard. He got his stuff done. That's good. But the thing about Radon that said, I want to take this ag econ kid and bring him into agronomy was his inquisitive nature, which I don't think I've ever found anybody that would either ask as many questions or have as much random knowledge.
Yeah.
He just was always a car ride with Radon or truck trip with Radon. I was always learning something, that's for sure. But there was always this inquisitive nature, and that nature in him made him so good at what he's now done. And that was the thing that really sold me on him. He had great work ethic. He was really good at that, but his inquisitive nature was.
Well, and I'll make a plug because Radon's the same way, and a couple of your students have been the same way. And one of my first PhDs was the same way because I had a PhD. Well, she was originally an undergrad for us in our department, and she didn't know what she wanted to do. Was going to go to work with another faculty in the department, and then they ran out of money. And Beatrix called me and said, "Hey, I need you to talk to the student. They're kind of breaking down on us. I need you to talk through. They want to go to grad school, et cetera, et cetera." So I went down and I sat and I, introduced and I asked her, I was like, this is Anna.
I know.
Is like, what do you want to do? And she goes, I don't know. And I stood up and I said, when you figure it out, come back and talk to me. Because, again, if you don't know what you want to do, why are we even talking? This is not just a punt the ball and 2 more years to try to figure it out. And I tell you what, it's those students that realize then that they need some learning. They need to teach themselves and some learning to do, educated herself and came back, had the gumption to come back into my office and say, this is what I want to do. And I'm like, okay, here we are. This is what we're talking about.
And we actually need to get her on as a podcast.
Yeah.
So Anna Bala over there in Ponca City.
Are you guys, all three of you, work with students and have worked with the youth in Oklahoma? Are you three ready for someone to come back to you as a state senator, as somebody that, someone in a leadership position and say, hey, thanks for what you did? Because it's going to happen at some point. You guys are going to have one of your past students or somebody that you've mentored come back and say, what you taught me in that one situation changed my life. Are you ready for that? Because it's going to happen.
Well, I don't know about these two guys, and they interacted with him a lot more. And I always told I told two people that they steered my entire life of completely, I had no idea what I wanted to do into where I am now. And one of them is Karen Hickman. Yeah. It's because she taught me the value of tough love and that sometimes you enjoy the people that give you the tough love the most. And the other one's Bill Ron, because his mentality was the students need to be better than you are. Yeah. And if they aren't, you didn't do a good job. Right. And I think that should be an expectation, is that if the students walking out from your program or under you don't know what you know and maybe a little bit more, then you didn't do as good of a job as you thought you did. Yeah. And that was Bill's motto, is that all of these people around me are smarter than I am. They just don't know it yet. And they're going to get
quite
there.
Broke through there.
I see it, and he had a knack for seeing it in people. And it was that kind of was like, okay, I know what I want to do now. And it was him of this whole mentality of you have to be smarter than I am, and I'm going to make sure that you are. That has still stuck with me. So,
yeah, I think Bill is the best example I could come up with that instilled that in people, and that's what I tell my kids. You should be better than I am, and I want you to be. And, now whenever they're young teenagers and they think they're smarter than you, that's not the point. That's an issue. But, at some point in time, they'll get smarter than you. But, I've been at this for one semester. And so
it'll happen, though.
And I was told 2 days ago by the department head, he said, you don't realize the impact you've made in one semester. And so these guys have been doing it a long time. I think, you're gonna see those people come back, and you'll have someone speaking at graduation one of these days who's some big important person, and they'll say, "You are why I'm doing what I'm doing." And I think a lot of times maybe we won't even know it. Yeah. And those are probably the best times when we don't even know until it's way past, and then you go, wow, I didn't realize that I made that impact. Yeah. So, and I know that was something that came out at my dad's funeral, was the number of people that he made an impact on that he never knew. Yeah. And in a humble way, I think that's the way it ought to be.
And probably didn't care that he got the recognition for it.
Right. Oh, he would have been embarrassed. Yeah, he wouldn't have wanted the recognition. But to know that you made a difference, being yourself, doing what you do, and just doing the best you can.
Yeah, I'm at that point in my career. It's kind of funny. I'm not getting that, but I am getting, because I now have profs. I've got guys who are and gals who are out there in academic situations, and it's almost guaranteed at about month 18 into their new careers, like, I get it now. I thought I knew why you did. No, you didn't tell me about this. It's like, I don't think I could tell you about the things, but that's probably the coolest thing for me, is that I put out a lot of students, but only recently, the last 5 or 6 years, I've got PhDs that do academia, and watching them grow up in their academic career is probably the thing that's the coolest on that side.
So I wanted to ask you about, because we talked about leaders, and I've never been a leader myself, but
sure,
really, I'm not. I'm more a behind the scenes kind of guy. But what do you say to the folks that can make a big impact, but aren't the ones that are the face of it? So maybe they serve on a commission, they have good insight, they have good opinions, they have a good conduit for their growers in their region. And I think, Brian, I was hoping you were going to go there with this one, but it's like the time, oftentimes we get the time off the farm, take that extra time off the farm, because you don't know how impactful you can be by 7 days a year or something like that. So I mean, what do you say to guys like that maybe aren't going to change the whole way they're doing things for a leadership role, but just that should be encouraged to serve at the level that they feel comfortable and kind of fits their
yeah. Well, I think the first thing I say is, if you don't recognize the team mentality, then you might need to reevaluate your leadership qualities. And being the team mentality means there is a time for you to be in the background on the sidelines.
Yep.
There may be a time for you to be out front, and there may not be. There are lots of organizations that I'm involved in that I am totally on the sidelines. The Oklahoma sorghum groups right now, it's a time where I was chairman of national. It's a time for me to sit back and watch the other people develop in their leadership
And answer questions.
Exactly.
Yep.
Be the old guy in the room that says, here's why we did it the way that we did, because I may not be here to be the leader. You know, I've stepped off of some organizations, and one of the funniest ones was a church board. And you would think that I was mad at everyone when I stepped down. I said, no, it's that I believe that other people need to be involved and we need to have more of a rotation. I don't believe it's healthy. So I think leaders got to realize that you're not in a spot for eternity. Maybe you're on the sidelines, maybe you're in the front, and don't take any offense to being where you need to be at that point in time, because it's all a time issue. You know, you can't always be in front and you can't always be on the side.
So what about the reason why I ask is that, you know, we've talked a lot today throughout a lot of the podcasts of the value of rural Oklahoma and what folks from rural Oklahoma, maybe it is in agriculture, but kind of like what you said, maybe it's a church board, that the values and everything instilled in folks from rural Oklahoma need to be passed on, whether it's just a contributing member or a leader. Tell me, pretend I'm a younger grower in your area that you think should be involved at some level, and what do you tell them to, again, take that extra day off the farm to say it's okay to, we don't have to be here every day.
Right.
Go spend some time in your community, go spend some time in your state, go make a big impact in the Capitol, because you don't know how much 7 hours in the Capitol can mean by you just talking to people and shaking hands kind of thing.
Oh, yeah. And I think...
So where is that discussion of just take a day off the farm and make a big impact in everything around you?
Well, I would say the organizations I've been in, I've taken lots of days off the farm. And I can tell you how much that cost me. There was a point in the co-op board that I could tell them almost exactly how much it cost me for every day I was off the farm. And it was not cheap. But I'd also tell you that developing that leadership changes how you manage your operation. It changes the aggressiveness that you are in marketing. It changes how you lead your family. It changes your personal life. So being a better leader and stepping out in the organizations develops you as a person in a way that you can't put a price on. Now, sometimes I can tell you things that I've learned and the development that I've made in myself within a commodity organization or a co-op board or whatever the case may be has been a direct financial return to me. And opportunities that I've got and things I've been able to do, you know, I have benefited financially by being involved just because I heightened my knowledge level and my awareness of what was going on around me. So sometimes it is valuable to be off. The time issue, yeah, you can let the farm run your life, and I may be guilty of that. Maybe my wife will listen to this, and you know, she'll agree too.
I'll make sure this runs about Valentine's Day.
Yeah, just maybe a couple days after it'd be better. But recognize for your personal development, and this is what we talk about when we say leadership. Leadership is personal development. If you take that time off the farm and you develop yourself as a leader, I think your family will be happier with you because you're saying the farm is not running every aspect of my life, and my development as a personal leader is not being hindered by the farm, because I do think a lot of farmers do just get overwhelmed with everything on the farm and just feel like they can never get away. And it's okay to be gone a little bit, you know. Sometimes it gets overwhelming, and I would say sometimes in a leadership position you do have to step back because you're gone too much.
Yeah.
So you got to have that balance, but it is important to make sure that you can do that.
I meet so many growers in this state, and back when I was in Louisiana and everything, it's like you don't understand how value it would be just for somebody to meet you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You know,
and you to tell them your story, how much impact it would be, how much positive impact it would mean for everything you want to happen, for you to just go tell them your story and for them to meet you.
What's interesting is how you will make a comment that will mean something that you never knew. And even as a grower here, I think about a year and a half ago, I was in Washington, D.C. I was working with a guy on pesticide application mitigation strategies. He does a lot of legislative work on this issue. And it was a very simple thing, like understanding how you spray a field and what happens when spray drifts. Mm-hmm. And some of the ways the legislation was written, you look at that and go, anyone who's ever sat in a sprayer could have told this guy the exact same thing that I told him. It was very simple. It was an aha moment for him that actually slowed some very, very restrictive legislation that we could have around atrazine application. And you look at that and go, anyone could have done that. Mm-hmm. But it took someone who had sat in the seat of the sprayer, who had just been on a farm, to be there in that place at that time.
Right.
And so it doesn't take anyone that's really smart, that has the ability to stand up and give a speech or anything really important. It just takes them being real. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what's missing in leadership, is just be real with what you understand and know, because you notice when real people stand up for something that's right, it makes a big impact.
Well said. Well said. My takeaway of this is that old saying of there's no I in team, but there is in win.
Yeah.
Okay, well.
And that poster will be available via Red Dirt Agronomy.
RedDirtAgronomy.com. $29.99. It could be yours. But no, that's very important. The next generation of leaders in not only rural Oklahoma but rural America, but more importantly, rural communities.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because as we talked about earlier today, it takes a lot of voice from rural America to make the difference of a very small area in a city.
Yeah.
And we get forgotten.
Yeah.
And we really need to stand up.
Well, Dr. Kent Martin, thank you so much for going on with us. This has been a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this conversation of the Red Dirt Agronomy podcast. And if you'd like to join the next discussion, leave us a message on our website, reddirtagronomy.com. We'd like to thank Dr. Kent Martin for joining us on the podcast this week. And again, if you get a chance, visit our website, reddirtagronomy.com, to find out more information about our guests and any of the resources we discussed on today's podcast or previous podcasts. For Dr. Josh Lofton and Dr. Brian Arnell, I am Dave Deacon, and we all want to thank you for listening. The proceeding is a copyrighted recording of Ag Now Media, LLC 2026. And yes, all rights are reserved.